We are recording, I think.
We're good now.
Okay. We will now call the meeting to order. That the agenda for the, we'll move to item number 2. Approval of the agenda. I would ask that the agenda be.
I'm here, but I'm not. Yeah.
Excuse me. We will now proceed with item number 2, approval of the agenda. I would ask that the agenda be amended to add an item under closed session number 13.1, identifiable individual. That the agenda for the Police Services Board meeting on November 25th, 2021 be accepted as amended. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Jeffrey Lashway, seconded.
So I think it might help if the members, when they're moving and seconding, could unmute and say it audibly, just so that Stan can see that.
Now, we have a mover in Jeffrey Lashway, seconder. Mike Ostrander. All those in favor? So moved. Are there any declarations of interest? No. There are no presentations. There are no delegations. Therefore, we'll move to item number 6. Now, item number 6 is the minutes of the previous meeting held on October 28th, 2021. That the Police Services Board minutes dated October 28th, 2021 be accepted as presented. Do I have a mover and seconder for this motion? Moved by Mike Ostrander, seconded by Jeffrey Lashway. All those in favor? It's carried. Anything in the communications and petitions? There are no items under this action items or information items. Let's move on to the police services report for October 2021. The first report is the police services report for October 2021. Sergeant Belanger.
Yes, excellent. All right, so we'll get started with this. So firstly, under the violent crimes, so there were 8 incidents reported in October. When reviewing these incidents, I was able to determine that all the involved parties have been identified, and therefore there's no danger to the public. Most of these incidents were involving trouble with youth calls, which were investigated. Next, under the property crime, you can see that it's significantly lower this year than it was last. There were a couple frauds and mischief. The frauds had involved a Kijiji fraud and a prescription fraud, which are still ongoing. There was 1 drug warrant that was executed in October. 3 individuals were placed under arrest for trafficking various drugs, including fentanyl. So that was a very good search warrant that was executed. The clearance rates, as you can see, the violent crimes are they're pretty good at 50%. That being said, some of those crimes were classified as unfounded, which unfounded as well as where the victim declined to lay charges. So like I said, all the individuals had been identified. but not necessarily charged, depending on the way the investigation went. The property crime, 0% clearance, but again, those types of investigations are pretty fluid in nature, and even though nothing was considered solved at that time, there was some forensic evidence that was collected, which may yield a suspect in the future. Move on to the next page. The patrol hours, vehicle patrol hours were 128.5 hours. Foot patrol were 16.5, and the school patrol hours were 1.5. The school patrol hours, I believe, had a lot to do with the motor vehicle collision, or not the motor vehicle, the collision, the pedestrian that was struck at the crosswalk, where they provided an educational piece to the students. And speaking to that, there were some social media posts that went out as an educational piece as well. Just safety measures when using the crosswalk. As you'll see under other, our mobile crisis response team did respond to 10 incidents, which is rather high regarding mental health issues, but that does free up our officers to respond to other calls. Under the billing summary, at this point, our year to date, just get into that. So year to date, we are, October was significantly lower than October of last year, and cumulative hours are again significantly lower than in 2020. If you have any questions regarding the report or anything that needs further elaborating.
Any questions?
Stan, just a quick one.
Yes.
Thanks for the report, Sergeant Boulanger. Just wanted to make a couple of comments. Want to thank the OPP for the traffic initiatives over the last month or so since we had that collision with the pedestrian. Still some ongoing issues back there, though. Speeds still seem quite high on Edward, King Street, east and west as well. But I do see the OPP presence is continuing back there. I know there was traffic being run just the other afternoon again by the Tim Hortons along by those crosswalks. So I just did want to ask that those really be continued, though, with the issue still ongoing there, and traffic this time of year. Obviously, it's really up with the run up to the holidays and kids being kids on that stretch back there. So it's always a concern. But the other thing I did want to add to it, and this is maybe something for bylaw as well, is I do notice a lot of loaded transports going through town at all times of day, sometimes at a fairly advanced rate of speed. I don't know if it's just taking a shortcut to get to some of the facilities down in Edwardsburg Cardinal, if it's shortcuts to 401 or what, but I've noticed a fair bit of that. I know there was a significant collision between a transport and a car on King Street with a woman trying to enter a driveway not long ago and was rear-ended. So I just did want to point that out as well as something we should probably looking at as a municipal and an OPP angle right now, because that's obviously we have bylaws in place for transports just transitioning down like that because of the wear and tear on our streets, and it's definitely on an uptick. You see it quite a bit on King and Edward. So just a note there, and also again a thanks for the added work on traffic over the last month.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to the traffic aspect, so I did run the numbers in October for tickets for Prescott. They weren't terribly high, to be honest, but we did do that. We did generate a focus patrol for specifically Edward Street and King Street, and you'll see the numbers are significantly higher for November in terms of infractions. So I think that would be something that we should continue on, because clearly there is need for it. And I can mention our officers as well to keep an eye out for the tractor trailers that are coming through. I'm not familiar, to be honest, what the routes are for tractor trailers. So is there posted signs prohibiting tractor trailers from certain roads throughout the town? Is that what we're concerned about, or just the rate of speed and the frequency?
John?
Both, but I can let bylaw comment on that. We do have regulations and bylaws in town. It is posted at the town, at the entrances to the town, the bylaw. And it is something that's became a major issue back in the late 90s with construction outside of town and a lot of damage and wear and tear to town streets. So the bylaw was initiated then, and I think it goes back to 97, but I'll leave that up to bylaw for further comment.
Sean?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll take it up with Sergeant Belanger. After the meeting, I'll pull the actual bylaw and then we'll go through it. I do know that the trucks are supposed to be eliminated from town streets unless the 401 is either closed or they're actually delivering to a specific address within the town that they'd have to take that street. I will find it and take it up with the OPP outside the meeting.
Good.
Or a commercial destination within town like Prescott itself, which is
Right.
I always like adding that because people have criticized us in the past for having some thing against transports when really we're just trying to protect our own streets against issues with transports.
Absolutely.
Are
No,
there any
that's
other
fair.
questions? Any other questions? No. Well, the second report is a staff report regarding the pedestrian crosswalk evaluations. I think Matthew, are you, or is it Sean?
I will take that one.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So at the last Prescott Police Services Board meeting in October, the request was made to take a look at crosswalks. The OPP did do an analysis of collisions involving crosswalks, and only one came up, which was in 2019, and it was at Edward and Irvine, where the driver was deemed to be inattentive. So obviously, as we just mentioned, the OPP has taken steps to address and enforce the driving habits on our major thoroughfares on both King and Edward, and that was just mentioned a moment ago. So there's a number of ways that pedestrian crossings can be designed, and the report goes into a little bit of that. Book 15 of the Ontario Traffic Manual, which is produced by the province, provides the guidelines of what municipality is supposed to do when designing crosswalks. And what it really comes down to is, well, they provide the manual and a structure of being able to design crosswalks and crossovers. They really stress that you should have a professional take a look at it. And so really that's what this report is trying to get at, is that we could go out and find a transportation engineering consulting firm to take a look at the intersections, in particular the crosswalks and crossovers at King Street and Center Street, King Street at George, King Street at St. Lawrence Street, Edward Street at Park Street, Edward Street at Irvine, and Edward Street at Victor. So it would cost approximately $12,500, which we could pull from modernization funding. Obviously, making sure that pedestrians are able to cross safely and traffic is able to move well throughout town is a key consideration, and kind of fits in well with that funding. So bring this today to the Prescott Police Services Board for endorsement if they so desire, and then it would be taken to council on December 6th for council's contemplation. Because it has a funding implication that is coming from the province, then that's why council would be the ultimate authority on it and decider of moving forward. So that's kind of my report for today, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Matthew? Then I have a a motion here
I
that the
believe
Prescott,
Mayor Todd has a question.
oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
Thanks. Nothing. I was just going to offer to make the motion. Stan, just wanted to thank Matt for the report. I think it's a good idea, and just to explain it, some of the additional rationale that makes it make sense is it's getting an external opinion on this. It's not the local OPP, it's not the town, because we have been seen in the past, vested interests and so on. Maybe we're too close to the issue, and having a new set of eyes on this, it's a good idea, and it gives us something to really look at for improvements, and also to take back to residents who have made a number of comments, especially in recent years, over the crosswalks, and the best we can do to make them as safe as possible for residents, and this will take us in a good position. We're doing some traffic studies in the north end of town now as well, so it does kind of tie in with just overall traffic in Prescott, so it makes it a really good time to do all this if council was approving of this on the 6th. So I'm in favor of this.
Any other comments? No? Then I have a motion that the Prescott Police Services Board recommend to council that the pedestrian crossings on King Street and Edward Street be evaluated by a transportation and traffic engineering firm to develop recommendations on improvements. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Mayor Brett Todd, seconded by Mike Ostrander. All those in favor? And motion is carried. Passed. We have another report, Sean Merriman.
No problem. For bylaw, just a reminder to the Police Services Board that overnight winter parking restrictions have been in effect since November 1st, and they will run until March 31st, 2022. Bylaw has already been active in the educational phase of the yearly reminder that overnight parking on town streets is not allowed. And as of the writing of the report, 120 warning tickets or friendly reminders have been left on cars, reminding them that they are no longer allowed to be on the streets after midnight. I can confirm that they will be out again on this technically Saturday morning, starting at midnight again, as we are expecting a possible winter storm to be moving into the area. And should it actually be a winter storm, instead of warnings, they will be actual tickets, and or if it was a big enough storm, actual towing if we have to send out snow removal equipment. Staff continue to meet with the Ontario Provincial Police and other community members regarding socioeconomic issues that keep occurring in the town, whether it's in relation to property standards and or homeless encampments. And we continue to work very closely with them. As of this report, although it has involved often the same persons, we have removed in total 4 encampments where people have set up basically to camp within the town of Prescott. And a friendly reminder that the AMPS bylaw is scheduled to come into effect on January 1st, 2022, which will allow various different bylaw enforcement to go through the town municipal offices instead of clogging up the Ontario provincial courts. It's still a choice. We can either do it through the municipal office, or should need it, you can still charge with an Ontario provincial offense and take it through the courts. But the idea is to try to remove most of the things so that it can be dealt with in a fairer and more timely manner as it relates to more minor things and that are bylaw related. And that is my report for the month. Chair, should anyone have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions? No? Thank you, Sean. Are there any items under old business? Nothing? Any items under new business? Moving on to the PSB public service announcement, should we continue with the crosswalks and the overnight parking?
So, Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Matthew.
we did find some really great resources from the city of Kingston. Has an excellent webpage that provides instructions on how to use crosswalks and crossovers. So we'll start pulling from that information as well as recreating it on our own website and be able to do that. So we'd be happy to continue with that as well as the overnight parking. And I think that is both appropriate and timely for both of those.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? No? We're going to move to item 13, which is a closed section. The motion reads that the Prescott Police Services Board move into closed session at 8:55 a.m. to address matters pertaining to identifiable individual under section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and that the CAO, clerk, deputy clerk, manager of building and bylaw services, acting sergeant Belanger, and Ray Sipes remain in the room. Do I have a mover and seconder for this motion? Moved by Mike Ostrander, seconded by, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Seconded by Brett Todd. All those in favor? Matthew?